If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, the blah, blah, blah.
Sending out good vibes.
And the blah, blah,
Good
blah.
vibes. Good vibes.
And the blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
And ask yourself why you want those things. Because this vision really needs to be more of a way of living. It's something that you can never actually be and check off.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Chris Duffin a little bit later. A great chat with a guy who's got a lot going on right now and seems like a pretty motivational motherfucker. So it's a fun one. In other news, Graham has COVID again. So we got Graham, hopefully pussy not on a pedestal this time, Dunlop.
We do these ramblings before the show, and I'm not going to be talking much. I'm pretty exhausted. Yeah,
You're the Rambler.
I know. I got a quote, and I don't have much to say. I mean,
I'm a rambling Graham.
So what percentage of the people do you think know this is a man-made bioweapon? Well, not even forget a bioweapon. Even let's just say like made in a lab somewhere. Maybe not even like with bad intentions or anything.
Well, I don't even know that.
What percentage do you think, though? You think this is natural?
I don't know. I think it's probably made in a lab, but
what percentage do you think?
Everything is just based on I have no real expertise to base that on other than what the machine's given to me.
What would you say? 80% people kind of think would side that way?
To the lab?
Yeah.
Oh, no. 50-50.
50-50?
I mean, are we doing global here? We got to reel this in here. Is this a global thing?
No, I'm just asking because I've been attacked again by this bioweapon, and I want to know why nobody's being held accountable for this. There's a pandemic.
Made a new flu.
It's to me flu. Like there's nobody looking at what's happened here, whether it's a leak or whether it's whatever the case is. I'm not saying even bad intentions or whatever, but something happened.
Something happened.
Now I've got that thing digging in my nasal. I can feel it in my nasal cavity again. Like these little spiky things. Like it's gross feeling. But
hasn't it mutated enough at this point to not be that?
No, it's still that. That's what I'm saying. It's super uncomfortable. It feels very similar. So it's super uncomfortable. Like I couldn't sleep at all last night. I had the shit. So get this, I ended up playing D&D last night. As soon as I shut it off, as soon as I closed up, I got the shivers. And I was like I heard Brandon Powell in my head.
Did anyone put a D&D spell on you?
No, I know that.
Well,
but it just happened like I must have been holding it off.
I don't think you should be doing Brandon Powell.
No, I wasn't doing his. I was doing like the ice bath breath work.
That's just still not a great idea.
Extending the outflow, breathing in sort of half. His words were going through my mind like exhale twice as long as you inhale. Like not the breath work, not the Wim Hof breath work, but the other just normal breath work. And it helped so much. Like, dude, it helped me relax everything. And in 45 minutes, the shivers and the coldness was gone. I still couldn't sleep. I still didn't sleep, but it's like in my nose and in my nasal cavity, my head is fucking full of pressure. Like I never get sick like this at all. I know it's fucking COVID. It's gross.
So have you tested?
Yeah. Yeah. Just to see if it's,
so
but it doesn't matter.
At-home rapid antigen test.
This is not a normal fucking like cold. It's not a normal cold. My mom thinks it's a normal cold. Like, she doesn't think what I think, but she's like, "Oh, this is nothing. It's just a normal cold."
It's
like,
just a normal flu, yeah. Well, I don't think it's a normal one, but I think it was probably made in the lab, but I don't think it's like engineered. I think it just like got out.
The reason why I question
it's like made to be more contagious, maybe like mated with another one. I don't know how all that shit works.
The reason why I brought it up is because
you've got it again, though. I'm not gonna lie, it does concern me.
The reason why I brought it up is because you wonder. It makes me wonder or realize this whole thing is planned, because nobody's being held accountable for this. Nobody. It's just disgusting. Nobody's gone after anybody for what happened.
Like 9/11.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true. We tore up a couple of countries for that. We just didn't go after anyone who actually had anything to do with it.
And the weird part is I bumped into two neighbors, which I don't really bump into a lot of neighbors, but I bumped into them and I heard two guys had COVID. I think it was two different guys, but they had COVID. Oh, the guy on the corner's got COVID. And then the guy that showed up in the mailbox, oh, I think I have COVID. And he's all covered up. His face is covered up. So how weird is it that for the first time in 2 years, I hear of local people that have it, and then our household gets it?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess COVID's a thing again. I don't know. It's still very much a part of my day to day because I'm working at 2 hospitals.
Yeah.
But nobody gives a fuck.
And the dreams, I'm stuck in this I can't even go sleep properly. I'm in this hypnagogic state where I honestly, and this is the other thing that really triggers me, that really says I'm still, this is the same sort of COVID type thing. And I can't even explain it, but it's almost like from that book I was reading or something, and it's sort of in there, but it's like as soon as I start getting into that hypnagogic state, I'm entered into this dream where there's forms or tables is the only way I can think of it. Like there's things that come up and there's an AI thing that separates it out, and it automatically sort of comes to the right answer and tells me which one's which, but it's a constant thing that's just flipping up. It might be like maybe thinking about The Office or thinking about something else or thinking about, and it's just this weird, it's psychedelic in a way. I can't even get to a full sleep because it's just this constant hypnagogic loop of
what office?
Like almost like a fever dream in a way, right?
What office are you thinking of?
This office here. I'm just saying, like
your studio,
whatever it is, it dissects it in a way and then gives me accurate sort of information on these forms or functions or tables. I can't even describe it, dude. It's very strange.
Sounds crazy. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I know it does. It is. It's fucking crazy. So I know. I thought my natural immunity would last a little longer. So now I gotta.
Me too.
I gotta figure out how I can get official documentation that I've had a fresh case.
That's not gonna. I don't know how you're gonna do that unless you pay for it. You'd have to pay for PCR test.
I have those test kits
those don't count.
What?
Those
if I send it in?
I don't know who you'd send it to.
Well, they do the FedEx thing. I'm gonna.
Well, that's like
you have
all
to register online. They can watch me do it, and then.
I don't think you can just do that at any time.
No,
I think it's really part of that quarantine thing.
I might just go to iCore. It's probably worth me just to go to iCore and get it and get official results.
Worth more than what? Spending 10 minutes in Photoshop. It might be interesting to have another official result. You should do that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
so that's so. Anyways, here I am. I don't think it'll last very long this time, but it's definitely. I can feel the synthetic nature of it, and it fucking stinks. It's super uncomfortable, super restless.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Half the house has it. Half the house doesn't.
You know.
Of course, my mom's
everyone else I know who got it twice was in bad shape, but you're not in that bad of shape. You're a pretty healthy guy.
Like everybody that's got it twice was in bad condition, like
no
bad shape,
physical shape.
Or when they got it the second time, or before they got? Oh,
period. Like They were what I would classify as unhealthy people.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty pudgy right now. Like I'm way heavier than I should be. I'm
sleep
like,
well.
I do eat well. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think that, they're drinking and not getting enough sleep.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. The only, I've got, it's an extra 15 pounds on me, really. That's about it. 15, 20 pounds, but.
Yeah, I know that 15, 20 pounds. It's like I caught a 25 pound fish this weekend.
There you
It's
go.
actually the other direction. I did catch a big fucking fish this weekend, though. It was a monster. A monster. I put the picture in the chats. Well, we wish you well, buddy. I mean, that's too bad. That's a real son of a bitch. That you got COVID again. I mean, it really just, it ruins everything.
Why?
Well, because we had the high ground.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, not
Oh,
anymore.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone gets the fucking shit end of this day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully I don't get COVID again. I might have had it again. I had the sniffles there a couple weeks ago. I just didn't think, or I left all my tests in Arizona. So that's a problem.
But yeah, this is a fantastic chat with Chris, man. He's such a inspiring dude. Come from a super hard background, and he just figures out how to build that resilience and that proper level of stress, and that's good.
Well, you build some resilience over there too, buddy. And the rest of you, we'll keep it short and sweet. Let Graham.
Well, I got a quote for you quickly because it kind of I got a quote.
A COVID quote.
Yeah. No, just a quote, because this is from the book I'm reading, The Lectures of Ancient Philosophy, and I pasted it in here. And
is this going to affect your output for work?
Well, I worked the other day.
The other day?
Like yesterday when I got it, when I had it.
Okay.
But then I can't. Today I was in bed all day. I can't even talk much. So, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't affect my narration abilities. I need a week off.
Yeah, you could just ask for a week off anytime. Anyway,
so this is it. I mean,
quote.
this kind of fits in with Chris too, in a way. I mean, so it says the sham of civilization is apparent when we realize that it forces the majority of people to assume false lives. Because he talks quite a bit about being authentic, like just living like he's like just his authentic self. One day he's cutting down a tree, the other day he's working for his business, to live in conflict with their inner convictions. The idealist must keep silent or be reviled. The thinker must hold his peace or be persecuted. The mystic does not share his vision with the world, which, though aware that he is right, will crucify him, if not in body, at least in soul. Hence, those with little knowledge babble continuously, and their words become the laws of men, while those of nobler vision must remain unknown, unhonored, and unsung. Never can we rise to the true heights seen by the eyes of the idealist while we are in the servitude to the inferior part of ourselves. So that's from Manly P. Hall's Lectures on Ancient Philosophy, coming out soon.
Adultbrain.ca. Head over to grammaricoutlawed.ca. Check out other podcasts. What we really need you guys to do, though, is head over to gramerica.ca/support. Make a one-time donation. Sign up for a monthly. Whatever you can do to help us keep going over here in our value for value endeavors. Keep it going and worthwhile, and hopefully everyone's getting some value from it. And help Graham get through his COVID again. Maybe send him some well wishes or just some cash, or maybe we just euthanize him. I don't know. Go ahead. You got your finger up?
No, I got a bio for Chris.
You got a bio weapon? You got a bio weapon? I heard that one, dude. Like 100 fucking
Chris
times.
Duffin is father, husband, champion, teacher, engineer, author, coach, the only man to squat and deadlift 1,000 pounds for reps.
You should go for that. You should fucking tie him.
The world may know him as the mad scientist of strength, because he also invents stuff, and he's a bit of an engineer. He grew up in the woods, as skinning rattlesnakes and chasing dragonflies in the early 80s. So he's had this real unconventional life, but he also went through school very smart. He was very smart academically, did really well in college, and then business process re-engineering, and they started up his own stuff as well. He's got his book, The Eagle and the Dragon, Kabuki Strength, Build Fast Formulas, Barefoot Athletics, all at chrisduffin.com.
chrisduffin.com, america.ca/support. Enjoy this chat with Chris Duffin, and hopefully, oh my God, I hope that's not COVID.
Yeah, you got it too.
Nah, I was having some cigars on the weekend, so it's probably just from that. I mean, I was really busted ass, loading boats, unloading boats. The water is insanely low, so it's like trucking through fucking mud to do anything.
Oh, wow. Really, eh?
I think it'll rain for a couple weeks, so, and it'll be all right. It's supposed to rain all week.
But you got a good couple of fish. Did you catch a lot of walleye?
Oh, yeah, a ton of walleye.
Like how many?
Oh, I don't know. I don't count. I caught maybe...
Like over 10 or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe 20 or 30.
Wow, that's great. And you ate them too?
We kept, I think, 7.
Nice. That's
we
great.
ate some out there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the only way to fly, really. I'm ready to get out on the quad, though, honestly, and get out of the mountains and go play around out there with the guns and stuff. And then give the fish a couple more weeks, finish spawning. And wait for a new moon, maybe? Full moon? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, guys, enjoy the chat with Chris Duffin.
Chris Duffin, welcome to Grimerica. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to some good conversation this afternoon.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was reading your book and I thought, you're going to have a little bit in common with me and with Darren. I mean, from the entrepreneurial side and the kind of like motivation to just take responsibility and get shit done. I mean, you're a doer like Darren, but we've also had similarities in corporate sort of process re-engineering type stuff. And yeah, it'll be a fun chat.
Yeah.
What did you like? I mean, you had such an interesting story, an interesting, background. I mean, you've got some records and weightlifting and stuff. I mean, what did you think you had a book in you like this all along, or what? Why did you decide to kind of just write your story down like this?
I've always known that there was at least a book in there, if not a movie. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I think at an early age, I knew that things were a little different, that there was a story there. And actually, in fact, there is a documentary coming out later this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but you can see the trailer on my site if you go to chrisduffin.com. The trailer's out for Grand Goals, the movie. But yeah, I was there, but it wasn't until, I was in my late 30s and I was sitting there, looking at my children, and they were getting to be a little bit older and starting to think and see life not through my own eyes, but through the eyes of a parent looking backwards on that. And I've always, I wouldn't change what I've been through for anything, but it brought just incredible sadness to me, kind of thinking about my children being in those experiences, but also the fact that there was so much that I wanted to share from the life that I lived, as far as it's a pretty big scope. And not saying it's worse or harder than anybody else's, or I achieved more or nothing. none of that, but I did have a very incredible scope in the journey of life. And that's given me a lot of perspective. And that was the impetus to really sit down and, take the effort, not just the effort of writing, but the effort of really diving through those memory banks and reliving a lot of that process, which was not necessarily the most pleasant at times either.
Did you do any process to get back into those memories? Because that's a really good point. I mean, you get into the details of your childhood, which to me, like, I try to remember some of my childhood, and man, it's tough.
Yeah, and given the things that I've been through with some pretty stressful, traumatic type endeavors, there is a lot of blanks in there. I mean, I swear, there's like what feels like missing years. So I used a skilled interviewee in that process to really drive, because it's like you try to tell the story and it's like, hey, something doesn't make sense. And so, having somebody pull that out of you is something that I needed in that process, instead of me just trying to sit down and connect those dots and somebody go, well, why did that happen? Who was that again? How does that reference? And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, because you're not thinking through, all of that, and so it really forces you to dig a little deeper. So the interview process is incredible.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. So, I mean, I kept thinking while reading your book that your childhood had. I mean, I would like to call you an overachiever in a positive way. I don't want that to come across with negative connotations, but I mean the stuff that you've been able to do in your life, the people you've been able to help, the businesses you've started, the businesses you've helped. I mean, you've been through kind of a mini recovery process as well. But I feel like your childhood almost set you up for that in a way, like not in a bad way, but like you couldn't be that without your childhood. And then I think about all the people that kind of the kids nowadays that are distracted with stuff. But you were out. I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit about your childhood and what you've done. But do you think that that's a real core part about how you became who you are?
I think it is, but I don't want to make people think that they have to have those experiences to push people to that level, because that's what I learned in that process is really the mental perspective, and that's what I try to share. But yeah, the overachieving part, well, certainly, this kid from the sticks that grew up, homeless, learning how to capture live rattlesnakes at 6 years old and living in tree forts and foraging for mushrooms and figuring out how to catch grasshoppers so I can, fish from a stream. And, you got to bathe by filling up some gallon jugs in the stream and letting them sit out in the sun, or during the winter, you got a shack and you do the same thing with a wood stove so you can step out back in the snow and try to clean off so you're not made fun of as much because of how you smell. And, you're dealt with people looking at you when you walk in a store. You're dealing with people preying on, the whole population of very poor and underprivileged people in these remote areas, which I dive into in the book with corrupt police, a serial killer, human trafficking, sex trafficking, molestation, rapes. Like, that's, you're viewed as lesser than human. And I came out of that going, you know what? I'm going to be better than you physically. I'm going to be better than you mentally. I'm going to crush you at business. I'm going to do everything. So yeah, I was an overachiever. I was a state level, athlete. I was valedictorian. I got a full ride academic scholarship. I smoked through college like it was nothing, and, somehow figured out how to speak and connect with people, even though I didn't really have a lot of that experience growing up, and ended up kind of excelling in the corporate world, and then walked away from that after, being the guy that came in and turned around companies and in automotive and aerospace and high tech, and started my own stuff. Oh yeah. And lifted some weights, and, I did all that. Like, yeah, where do you think that came from? Like, of course there's a mental aspect to, like, I wanted to prove everybody that I was not lesser, and I would do it in every fashion. I would not. And so there's that aspect of that, but there's an interesting side though, too. And this comes from your comment about the people distracted by things. And it's something I've been given a fair bit of thought to lately is, the creativity side, the things that you see in the work that I do, because I've, for the audience that doesn't know who I do, but I invent things. I do a lot of things on the creative side with bringing both processes and products to the world that really change the game in regards to biomechanics and neurology. And in the same time, like, I dabble in things like building vehicles from the ground up, suspension and steering design, and, houses. And I'm always like making something. Like, it's just like, that's what I do. And it's like, where are the roots of that?
That's what I'm getting at. Like, it seems like to me, because you had this childhood where you were figuring shit out in nature, and you explained in your book when you were a waiter how you saw the whole restaurant and you were able to wait like 3 times the tables of everybody else because you saw the process of them eating and the speed and and whether they're finished or not. I mean, there's this sort of inherent analysis going on. And I think it helps with your process reengineering, going into a company and saying, let's get rid of all this waste and increase the throughput. I mean, you've got this natural talent to do all that. Like, did nature play that?
Seemingly interconnected web of a lot of stuff that is really hard to categorize down and refine, but it's a web that you can see. But some of the early ones, I got questioned on this, and it was an interesting thing is I dove into the answer. Again, this was another kind of like interview process from a friend of mine, and wanting to know, like, when is the first time that you designed something, that you created something? Like, when did this kick? And then, I'd think about something and it'd go earlier and earlier
to the woods, or to the, maybe as a kid even, right?
Yeah. So, and it got to where we would go shopping at the dump. So that was, we'd find old landfills. We'd go to the dump when it wasn't closed. Sometimes, we're living on, properties that have been abandoned and moved on. But like in the Northern California area, people would do kind of this landfill thing with garbage on properties too. And so you'd have this that way back in, and that's what I did. I'd go out there and we would I didn't have toys. I didn't have things. And it would literally be, pulling out, an old frame for a broken bike and pulling out another piece and like creating and making things, because that's all that I had to work with. And that's how we provided for ourselves. Like, is literally going into other people's garbage and finding what is useful. How can we make this into something that is going to enhance our life? And I think I mentioned that just in passing in my autobiography, like the shopping at the dumps thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to realize just how much that had on the creative side, the outlet of understanding and seeing, the resource availability that other people couldn't see, right? Looking at this big giant mess of garbage and going, I see something. It's over here and over here. And how am I going to do something? Because it's like, otherwise you have nothing. Like,
how old do you think?
I need some string to pull up a tarp so that it doesn't rain on me. Like, and I can't afford going to, what it's like, oh, hey, there's some twine. There's something off of, whatever it is. And it's like, I can fashion that in a manner that can be positive for me. And so yeah, those roots tie way back. And
like, how far really back do you think? Like before kindergarten, like before school, as a maybe 3-4 years old even, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think it's nature or nurture?
Well, I think there's a little of both. So that's an interesting discussion, right? Because, a lot of people would use like my story going, hey, here it is. All you got to do is work hard. Anybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Look, Chris did it.
Yeah.
And I relate this discussion back to strength training. There's so many things. I got a lot of analogies with vehicles and analogies with strength training. And everybody has a different. So the interesting thing about like developing resilience, which is developing your ability to handle more in life, right? Everybody can increase that. You can't just walk in and be, at world-class level and be able to perform a workout that somebody like that does. And so it takes every time pushing a little bit harder, making sure that you got your rest. So it's not burning the candle on both ends, because that's going to just destroy you. Right. So everybody can improve their ability to tolerate stress. Right. And that's body, mind, and soul. Now the workout is the body part. Right. And so over time you get better and better and better. But the baseline, everybody has a different baseline level. Right. And so I got thrown into, being born into a world of significant stress and trauma. And most of the people around me that had the same conditions, they're dead. They're in prison. They're in the woods somewhere, scraping by and on drugs. They're somewhere along that, right? It destroyed them. And it was not that they weren't good enough, but I obviously had a little higher baseline, or significantly higher baseline ability to tolerate that stress. So some people could walk into the gym their first time, throw 225 on the bar and squat it for 10, 15 reps, right? Maybe even more. But a lot of people, you go in there and it's going to crush them. It's going to hurt them. It may break them, right? So the baseline is different, and everybody can tier it, can stair step it through your lifetime to handle more. But we have to understand that that baseline level. And that's where the bootstrap thing doesn't take into that, because what happens if I come in, you're thrown in life doing daily doubles, 3-4 hour workouts, doing CrossFit, training for the games 7 days a week at that level. It's going to fuck you up and it's going to break you. And it doesn't matter. You have to be some genetic freak to be able to withstand that to start with. And that's the reality of the world. Like, it's not fair, but that's it.
So that's like a built-in hierarchical system, basically. It's like we can't get away from our genes, then they're not equal.
They're not equal.
They might be equal on a broader spectrum. They might be equal on a broader spectrum if we had a better chart, if we could like really play it out over
properly handle stress. It seems like if
the people that can't do that might be better at something else. But life seems, the way we got civilization geared up right now, it rewards only one sector of our stuff, Yeah.
Well, the important thing to note here, though, is that everybody can increase it, right? And if you don't use it, you lose it as well.
Yeah.
And so this is incredibly important. If I break my arm, there's two interesting things that happen. One is I stress the bone. I caused a stress that's going to cause some adaptation, which actually stimulates the process for it to heal. But I have no stress now on the muscular tissue while it's in that cast, and I take it off 6 months later and it's atrophied. The process of atrophy starts almost immediately. And if I left that cast on there for a couple of years, the bone would also get brittle and break. If I woke up every day and my elbow hurt and I wrapped it up with a big wrap, what would it do? It would get weaker. And in fact, it would make other parts of my body have to overwork and compensate and probably have issues as well. And so it's super important that we challenge ourselves on a regular basis, because stress, demand, struggle is the essence of life. And this isn't, me speaking philosophical or ethereal. This is, I like to use the example, I probably overuse it, of the biodome with the trees in there for a long time. They couldn't figure out what would happen. They would grow to a certain height and they just fall over. Didn't matter what kind of tree it was, just fall over. And what they found out is there was no wind beating against it, right? And so the same thing, the bark is weak and brittle, like all this, like it needed the environment, the rock or the tree that's sitting out there on a little precipice of a rock, and it's tiny and scraggly because it's always beat, but it's alive. And that is the essence is alive, is like working against our environment, because if there is no demand imposed, no struggle, no strife, there is no life. And so us always wanting to be on the other side, let's get the business to this certain point. We're going to retire. We're going to get to that state and then it's going to be easy. That's what it's going to be, all worth it. And it's like, that's the end. That's the end. It's over if you get to that point. Right. But again, don't take the message wrong. I don't need to throw out any hustle or grind porn of like, just drive, 24/7. Like that's going to kill you too. Right. So you've got to have that, if you bust your ass all week and you're going to take some time with your family over the weekend, or you've been slaving away on a project for 6-9 months and you take, a week off and go to Arizona or wherever, like that's great. Now, if you stayed chilling at the beach, drinking Mai Tais for 3 months, you're going to get soft. You're going to get weak in your body, in your mind, and everywhere. And that's an important thing for me to really drive home. And if you think about it from the workout perspective, like the things that it's like, oh, yeah, you quit using your arm, like put a cast on there. Yeah, it atrophies, it gets weak. That's freaking life.
So that kind of gets back to that distraction of the youth right now.
Yeah.
They don't have the same type of stress, right? It's probably it's more of a weird social kind of media stress, but not this physical environmental stress.
Yeah. So we are creating a culture where things are catered to you, like you are the consumer. And that is the goal, is to have, great media to engage you in super palatable food to keep your pleasure. It's got to be tasty all the time. It's got to be like, and the thing is, we need hardship. And then we'll also look at the types of stress. Like not everything can we adapt to. Okay. Stress is good, but like some traumatic stuff, like it's going to have an effect on people. And yeah, you can use it still to leverage. Like, why would I just let that be what defines me and not, it's happened. I can't change it. Why not still turn that around to be positive? But at the same time, you don't have to have that to go to the next level. Right. And just like training the body, like I can put, demands on the joints that are things that are not adaptable from a tissue standpoint. And the only output is it's going to grind and wear you down a little bit. And so there's that with everything. Right. And so some of like the stresses that are thrown in the world today that you mentioned, like can be a lot of like lead to a lot of anxiety or other issues. And so they may not be developing emotional resilience. They might be developing emotional brittleness, right? Weakness, the same thing. So it's we always have to be aware of those concepts, right?
Yeah, that must be. I mean, I'm just putting it together now that's how you've developed some of your equipment, your kabuki strength stuff is probably to, and I don't know this, I'm speculating, but probably to put the right type of stress on your body and not the wrong type of stress that's going to wear you down.
Exactly. Yeah. So what, I won't spend a bunch of time here, but it's exactly that. So it's respecting, it's all about respecting the joints and getting them in the proper position and getting the tissue so we can get the maximal results while taking away the negative stresses that we can't adapt to. And then at the same time, improving the neurological inputs, which improves the movement patterns and positioning. And at the end of the day, you enhance the total effect that you can get while minimizing both the potential for injury, breaking, as well as the cumulative load that you can't adapt to. So here's a really important concept. So there's so much things that you can adapt to, like stress, right? And so if we've got stuff that we can adapt to, and then like a cumulative load of other things that we can't, that's going to reduce our capacity of the things that we can adapt to. So like if I'm moving poorly, I mentioned, like walking into the gym and do 225 for squatting for 20, starting out, like if I'm moving like crap, it's going to cause me to not be able to do that very frequently. If the better I move, the better positions I get, the better, inputs I get on the system, what does that allow me to do? It allows me to now do that more frequently, more intensity in the training. We would call that load, right? With more volume. And if you do more of that in a shorter period of time, what happens? You get stronger. And so that same thing applies in these other areas of life, right? If I can pull out like some of the stuff that falls in that category, it's going to allow me to get better results from what I'm doing, and maybe hitting it more frequently. Right. Challenging myself in the business world, in my relationships, all this stuff, development more, right? Yeah, and the more I do it, the more you grow faster. It's this stair step, right?
Yeah. It's just like in the Bible when it says, to those that have, more will be given.
Yeah.
Wow, Darren with the Bible quote. What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I know that part of it. The second part is like to those who don't.
First here.
To those who don't have, everything will be taken away. I mean, it's in all the Napoleon Hill stuff and that sort of stuff. It's in all that sort of literature, that line. So
yeah, it's kind of the new. It does your stuff fits in well with the sort of the manifesting the new, the new thought type stuff where you're really, it's not just, and I want to talk to you about dreams and visions, but it's kind of like, I don't know how to word it, but
it's purposeful choice though. Let's make a distinction here.
Okay.
Because it's, let's say the business world, you're sitting there and you've got, maybe a problem employee, something that's happening, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't, I'll just ignore it. It'll go away. Or a conversation with a coworker or your boss or something along those lines that's like creating a little twist and anxiety in your gut. You're like, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with that. Just ignore it. And that's your signal, because the sooner you make that choice, that's your workout. That's your stair step. And it could be you making big moves. It could be you applying for a job. It could be you raising your hand, asking for this project that nobody else wants, and it scares the shit out of you. It could be you launching your own business, going back to school, making a career change. Could be
picking up the phone,
conversation with your partner or your family. Like, it could be any one of these, right? And that's your workout. That's your opportunity to step into this arena that's going to create some stress. It's going to test you. And on the other side of it, it's this sense of unknown. Like, you're scared of it. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You can't guarantee it. You can't walk into it going, this is the known outcome on the other side. And so you having the willingness to jump into that is going to give you the confidence that next time going, I did that. I overcame that. It wasn't so bad. I can do the next one. And you've got a little more confidence. You take it to another level. Next thing you know, it's a big business deal that you're brokering that you would never been able to handle before, right? And it just keeps going. But you have to know, I have the confidence. I have the ability to be scared and step into it. I've done this before. I can come out on the other end. And that's a big, powerful thing. And those are your opportunities to know. And I can't tell you every single one of those is going to turn out in your favor. Don't be like, Chris, you told me to freaking start my own business and it failed.
Yeah.
Well, I can't guarantee that, but I can guarantee that you doing that is going to make you a stronger and more resilient version of yourself.
I had a note here about resilience and principles, and I think it was in regards to the way you were brought up. I mean, the interesting part about this is that so many people just also just want to get off grid now too. I mean, they're like, I want to go out of society. And I mean, your mom and your dad and your stepdad as well. I mean, they had these principles, and they took, they went off grid completely. I mean, they're like, hey, we're going to raise a family in the woods, basically. But I feel like those principles that they had helped with the resilience somehow. Maybe all the stuff that they went through, they stuck to sort of their guns on certain things,
They did. So, and that was a component. Like, there's so much in life that should have told my mother to go a different direction, but she still lives out in the desert by herself, doing her mining and just like doing her thing. And she said that this is the way I'm going to live my life. And she made it happen. And a lot of people would downlook, the way that she raised her family, the things that she's done in her life. And that's easy to do. And, I'm not going to get up here and, say that it was all great, her choices, but at the same time, she built in me the confidence to live the way that I want, to be who I choose to be.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. She built her own world, like moved out of society. And I look at what I've done, and I've created my own within. I just said, this is the way I'm going to do. Like, when people ask me, what's your job, Chris? You know what I did the day before yesterday? I took out an axe. I had a tree to take down in my yard, and I freaking took down the tree and I trimmed it fully with the axe. And that's my job for the day. I'm going to post that on the media and talk about like what that means and other stuff. And it's just like, maybe I'm going to work on my vehicle. Maybe I'm going to work on my business. Like, my job is to be my authentic self. That's fucking crazy. Like, that's just back for like, that's fucking crazy. Like, and where did I get that? I got that from this crazy gun-toting woman that lived life on her terms.
Yeah. And but I mean, there was also some intuit, some sort of, there's a spiritual part of the journey as well. She had some intuition there that could have saved your life a couple times. I mean, it's really, you don't have to get into all that, but I just wanted to sort of bring that in for context too, that it's very well rounded, your view of everything, from the physical, the mental, the spiritual. I mean, it was pretty mind blowing to me.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I don't get a whole lot into that side of it, but that's where a lot of, kind of the foundation stuff, early in my book, it was communal living in Northern California out in the mountains. My father spent 3 years in the, Tibetan monasteries. There was a lot on that side. And I can't say that I have all that figured out enough to articulate any of it. But there's certainly a lot of crazy stories. Like, again, my mom figuring out the human trafficking and serial killer thing while she was behind bars, which ended up saving all of us kids, basically life. It's like, where do you put a finger on that stuff? It's a little hard to explain.
Yeah, exactly. And also, from the fire, I mean, you had a whole, some what did you call that? Live guilt or survival guilt from, she kept you from going to your friend's house, and that whole thing went on fire that night and killed the family. I mean, crazy stuff.
You're sending goosebumps down my body right now. Yeah.
So that
was lots of stories.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stories. There's a lot more than that's in the book too.
Well, I mean, and you hear about these human trafficking things, but to hear it firsthand from your book there, where your mom kind of figured that out, she had that intuition to stay away from that cop. It's interesting to hear it from a non sort of conspiratorial perspective.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you about dreams and visions, because you have something really articulate in your book about dreams versus visions. You can have a vision of something, but maybe you can try and articulate that. I just have a note here about dreams and visions. I mean, I feel like we all have these dreams, but the visions are different.
Yeah. So, and we'll probably dive a bit into goal setting as well.
Yeah,
because
right.
I think that there's some big misconceptions or missed approaches there.
Exactly.
And to me, it's just the gap, the miss in my educational environment, where you had so many people, always preaching, you can't do anything unless you can dream it first. And it's all about being a big dreamer. And it's in my life as I've moved on, I've known so many people that were big dreamers, and they're still there with those dreams, and nothing's moved anywhere. And it comes to me down to really understanding the depths of everything it takes to get somewhere. In the long road, the hardship, it's not about like imagining this instant success and all of a sudden you're the next Tiger Woods or anything of whatever your dream is, right? It's the drudgery. It's the years of not moving forward or not feeling like you're moving forward, and all the work that's got to get done, but all those little steps along the way that are mini stepping stones that are moving you there, and all the alternative routes that could be to similar things that realize that same effect. And that's a vision. So a vision is something that's good, should scare the fuck out of you if you think about everything in it and you look at it and it's like, I don't know if I can do that.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
But now you've got a roadmap. You've got a vision. And that's what a vision should be. It should be this giant picture of everything, because there's no way, because what it demands is that you take a step right now, today, towards that. And if you're sitting there waiting for that big thing, it's going to just be that scholarship. I'm going to get picked up by ESPN. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And you're waiting and waiting for these big giant things to populate. They're not going to happen, because you've got to be in there. You've got to be in the mix going. It may be 5 years. It feels like you've never moved anywhere, but every day, every week, every month, you're doing the work that needs to be done to move you that direction. And the next thing you know, you're going to turn back and you're going to look back at the 10 years behind you and realize, oh my God, that's how far I came. So it's a mixture of like this grand vision of everything in that map. And it should be scary and ugly, like that when you think about it, it's overwhelming. Fuck, I can't do that. Because now you've got to now switch that vision off and focus on the fucking shit in front of you. But what am I going to do today? And this is where people get lost.
Right.
This is where they want to feel like they're doing something. And you end up with creating goals and bucket lists and all these things that you can check off and get done and make yourself feel like you're doing things. And it's just busy work. It's life. It's like getting, moving and 1 week to the next. And you're like, yep, I went camp and I did this, like, whatever it is. It's, like I said, it could be your bucket list, right? Like all these amazing things that I want to check off, but they're not anything that's aligned with that. And next thing you know, 10 years has gone by. Not even 10 days, 10 years. And you haven't taken a single fucking step. You're 45 years old. You wanted to be somewhere and you're like, shit, I never even take a step. And next thing you know, you're on your deathbed and you're laying there and reflecting on life. And it's, I coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Because all you did was just let life live you. You went through the motions and did some things to entertain yourself along the way, but you did not live your being, your authentic self. God, that sounds so cheesy.
No, I know, no, self. But hey, dude, it's the best way to describe it. It really is. Yeah.
I like Buddy's way too. And he said, you gotta be a human doing, not a human being.
Yeah.
That was Doobie Doobie Doo guy. I forget his
Amit
name.
Goswami.
Amit Goswami. Because I mean, that's the thing is everyone just. I was gonna say no one ever just wakes up when they're at the retirement party and goes, this is what I wanted. I wanted to do a fucking 45 years at fucking General Electric, and now I can hang my hat on it. And I mean, I use that example because we've got a guy who did 45 years at General Electric or something like that, and then retired. And I was just talking to him at one of our events down in
Utah.
And he's like, dude, I feel like in a lot of ways, like I just started living as I started like expanding my consciousness and so, all of that.
And he's the guy that's embraced in retirement at least, because a lot of them go the opposite and they fall right after retirement. So.
Well, he looks at all of his work life as just being a waste of time now, like a total waste of time, because I was just stuck in that fucking grind with nothing. He's like, and now he's started listening to these podcasts and stuff like that, and he's like, now but
I tell you right now. And it hits home. I had a friend commit suicide yesterday, right? Man. And it's like, thinking about things. If my time came today, I'm happy,
right?
Because I know I left nothing on the plate. I have lived the way that I want to live, and I've made my mark by touching the people around me and leaving this world for the better.
Maybe not happy. Maybe happy is not a good word. Maybe like not regretful.
No regrets. Remove the word happy. However you want to frame that, but like, it's that's where I'm at, and so my point, it's I said you're the next Tiger Woods or whatever. It's honestly that's the starting point. So the vision has to be a little bit more. So it is. You can use the things that you materialistically want, a house or car, or whatever it is. I use those quite a bit for some analogy perspectives. I might go into them here or not. Or it could be position, like I said, the next NFL star, a surgeon, a blah, blah, blah. And ask yourself why you want those things, because this vision really needs to be more of a way of living. It's something that you can never actually be and check off, right? And so you're going to get there and you have to start using those, peeling back those layers. Like in the process improvement world, we have this thing called the 5 whys. And you just dig deeper and deeper and deeper over time to really understand that. And you get to this nugget of these roots of things that, yes, being, the leader on the PGA Tour is a way of realizing those values. But it's like, what are they? Because it's creating this thing. And again, it sounds cheese, like it's this North Star, because this is how you can get to a point of like every day, how can I take a step closer? I'm never going to get there, but I can get a little bit closer every day. And then over time, I said, you look back and it's like, oh, this way of living and being, that's what I want. That's why I said, if my time comes today, tomorrow, next week, I know that path here was the way that I wanted to live.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't do everything else in the future along the path that I have done or want to do, but that's it,
Yeah, I think that's the most important aspect is that question that you asked, and you ask it in your book too. Why do you want that? And it's the process that's more important. So how do you, and you might have answered this, but how do you reconcile that, what to do next in that moment and make sure that's on your vision? Or how do you, is there a tie in there that you do without writing lists and having these specific goals, but being authentic in that moment and making sure that you're on your vision,
I think that's why I like Peterson's stuff, because I always think it's important to start with something like that. So you know what the fuck you want before you waste a bunch of time getting there. Because I know a ton of people who are where they thought they wanted to be when they finished high school. And now they're like, motherfucker, this sucks. And because they didn't really think it out, or they didn't keep and I'm a victim of that. I wanted to be an iron worker, and then I wanted to be the boss, and then, it still sucks. but, and then it's like, I think that's okay as long as you can keep shifting that. If you can get there and be like, okay, well,
And
what's next?
You
What's
can't
next?
keep shifting
What's next?
that because it's not like I want to be an NFL star. I want to be a surgeon. Like I gave those as examples. Like, why do you want those things?
Right.
And so painting this picture comes down to creating this as like a value set. So for me, like some big drivers for me, sense of challenge or accomplishment, right? You could see that why that in my nature, right? I need to be pushing myself, my limits, exploring what that is. Continual learning, a sense of family. And I say sense, there's a very distinct difference between family and not, or sense of community. Words are important. Creativity, having, with creativity within my work in my life. Lost my train of thought.
To line up what you're doing now to the vision, so that's a good way to do it.
Some of them may be counter to the others. So this sense of pushing oneself and challenge, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of that, I want to have security. I want to make sure that I can take care of my family and they're not going to end up in the situation like they are. So they work against each other. And we need to take ego out of these things too.
Yeah.
Like I like a sense of recognition, or I like recognition because, I want to know that the things that I've done or things that I've accomplished, have earned some respect or whatever it is. And so you really need to remove those things from that. But why is that you want, a position that maybe has some fame associated with this? Because it could be any number of these things. The example I use in my book is the that one that is security versus, I guess, more of a fame type thing, recognition, whatever. But it's around the house. Like if you don't know, all you want is like, I want these things. And the underlying thing is to have once you get there, you have security, you could over leverage yourself and actually move backwards and be like sitting there hating your life, anxiety, depression, all this. It's like, I have all the things that I ever wanted on my list. That was my list. I got it done. Right. And didn't understand why. And you actually move the opposite direction. So that's why it's like your goals are a way of realizing a life that lives that, right? And so, you talked about, I wanted to be an iron worker. I wanted to be a boss. Like it shifts around. And so you need to think about it. Now we're taking this map further. Instead of a distinct end position, it's going right now, I'm looking at this giant tree and I'm down here at the trunk and there's a million different outcomes that I could be, 30, 40 years from now. But if I know how the way I want to live, I can move that path towards that. I can take these steps towards that North Star. And as I get closer and closer, I'm going to start figuring out which little leaf, which end branch I'm going to end up on. That path of where that's going to be is going to be much clearer instead of sitting here at high school going, there it is. That one way up there, up on the right corner over there. That's what I want. I want to be that. That's a beautiful leaf. Look at the way its colors change. And that's the one. That's where I'm going to be. That's a really poor way to look at things. And that's really how we're taught to look at it. Right.
Yeah. Even how you had you must have gone through this with, business process reengineering. You go into a company, you get rid of all the waste, you change it. That must have helped, now opening up your own company, designing the processes from scratch.
Yep.
Very helpful along the way. Did you ever have imposter syndrome when you're younger? I mean, I went through a similar thing. I was learning about theory of constraints and managing a department of technical people, 85 guys younger, sort of not in the business as far as like an expertise. I had to really lean on everybody else and it sounded similar to what you had to do in there too. Listen to people, get them to respect you, use their ideas, that kind of thing, have to make it seem like you're not going in there pushing your way around. And then I guess the other question would be, do you ever feel now that you're sort of just working as your authentic self, do you ever feel like you're not productive? Do you ever have a weird feeling that, you know, you're living this life that's fantastic, but do you ever feel the lack of production? So a couple of big questions there, but sorry. I just wanted to get them
Big
both.
questions. Good ones, though. So imposter syndrome, yeah, when do you not deal with that? Holy shit. Like it'll come out of the nowhere, like through your whole life, right? Because it's like, who the fuck am I supposed, you know, to do this? And everyone's like, well, you're the leading authority. Like,
I got the best for that. I just go, well, then I'll just be the best damn imposter I can.
Yeah, just be fake it till you make it is a real thing. I mean, it can work you through some of those things.
yeah. But yeah, the approach on managing people, like I learned very early on that, I'm a pretty smart guy, but if I try to believe that I'm, my way's the best, and it is, by the way.
But you can't say that up front.
But I can't say that, and I can't force that, because even if it is the best way, it's not going to be the best outcome. And so, being able to set aside the fact that, what the way I view it as being the best, and maybe it is the absolute best, is not going to lead to the successful outcome. And so setting that ego aside really can help you with going about like major change, cultural changes in organizations, and focusing again on like, where are we going? Where's the in picture, painting that picture for people, helping them understand how they fit in that process and what value they add and how they bring that, and then getting their buy-in. And anytime that somebody owns something, even if it's not exactly the best way to get there, if they believe it and they own it, it's going to happen better than any other way possible.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Even if it's not the best path, it's going to be the best path.
Exactly, yeah. It's not worth that little loss of efficiency if it's not their idea. It's not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're taking the fun out of things too. I mean, because where's the process? We just talked about what's the process for self-growth.
Right.
It's stepping into the unknown. It's having the ability to fail and be wrong and coming out the other side. So how do you take that person, that little outcome of whatever project it is? It needs to be bigger than that, because there's more coming.
Yeah.
There's more coming for you and them in the work environment. And next thing you know, there could be a whole lot more than that. You could be starting your own company itself 20 years down the road, and you need help. And all of a sudden, you got all these people coming to rally and support you, or work on contract, or leave their job at risk to come work for you. Not like I know this or anything, because they believe in you. You brought about massive change in their life.
Yeah.
You're able to see like, oh, and now I've got this network of people that are running all these things all over within the industry, because it's like, shit, why is everybody that worked for me like a plant manager or big wig at XX company? Like, and that's how you create. So it goes so much further behind the little thing that you're working on at the moment. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's okay not to be the expert, but at the same time, having a background, coming in as a complete, outsider and just expecting to, drive it through being a great leader or collaborator or whatever. It's still a valuable thing to, in my opinion, and it's been in my work, is to have the respect and the knowledge of being able to hands-on do every part of the process as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably, before we run out of time, I'd love to ask you about your unique lifting technique, like how you actually, did those records when you did your lifting. Yeah. I'm not a lifter, so I'm not too sure on the verbiage and all that, but I feel
doesn't matter about the lifting.
Wait, you're not
I feel like
we're going to talk about lifting.
There's a part of the tech.
You're not a lifter?
Of course not.
I swore you're a lifter.
It's just the way you describe it. There's that unique part of your engineering aspect that I feel like you've done with the biomechanics. It enables you to do more than you should be able to do. Really, I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. So
in that
everything. Part. So when I talk about knowing all pieces of the process, right? Why did I lift? What was my reason for the lifting? Okay. So the reason I did I'm the only person that's both squatted and deadlifted 1,000 pounds, and I did them for reps as well. And so there's been people that have done one or the other.
Yeah,
and I wanted to demonstrate that I'm not a specialist. And I chose those movements because they're two basic human fundamental movements. The squat comes into completion around 9 months of age, is one of the final patterns that's neurologically built into our systems as we move from rolling to crawling, standing, and walking. All right. And the deadlift is one of the other most basic fundamental patterns of being able to pick something up off the ground. And this is life. It's picking up a bag of groceries. It's picking up your grandkids. It's all these sorts of things. So these are two base movement patterns that every able-bodied person in the world should be able to master. And they also demonstrate the ability to control and manage the spine and spinal mechanics. Okay. And that's where, if we look at how the body works as a whole from a mechanical perspective and neurological perspective, the ability to do that has the largest global impact on our movement patterns, our injuries, than anything else. And by the way, the number one healthcare cost in America, it's not diabetes or heart disease or cancer. It's low back pain.
Wow.
This is what we're talking about. And you can manage it yourself. And so with this, I wanted to demonstrate, one, that my process and how I train, how I rehab, the tools I use and everything, that I can manage spinal mechanics better than anyone else in the world through those processes, that I can show people and inspire people that if you chase something fundamentally incredibly hard, like if you put enough effort into it, you can do things that people think are impossible. And then the third reason was it was paired with charity fundraisers for things that I believe in. So that was why I did the things that I did. Now, I shared some of the things about some of my values, and you can see that in there as far as like challenge and creativity and recognition and, all this sort of stuff. Also the continual learning, because when you put yourself on the edge of things in the world, you learn very, very fast because things move. Small changes that might be imperceptible or take years or decades to be able to net out, you might find in weeks, days, hours. Okay. So these are the whys of why I did some nutty stuff. And that's the fundamental behind the documentary coming up, Grand Goals, grand 1,000, grand over the top, crazy. But when it comes to relation to like work, business, all the other stuff, there's this other key philosophy. And to me, it comes down to, it's not what you do, but what you don't do. And being able to pair out the scope creep of all the other shit so you can focus those steps every day so that those steps are just the ones we're cutting out the fluff and the crap that just comes in and fills your life. You did theory of constraints. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with 5S, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaizen, 5S, and
workplace organization of your work cell.
Yeah.
Strip everything fucking away.
Right.
And then start pulling the things back in. I use that quite a bit. Another approach I do is called achieving balance through chasing the extremes. Take things that are supposedly diametrically opposed, but they are things that you love and know and want to chase, okay? And it forces you, if you go all out, it forces you not to refine what's important and what's not, and to cut the fluff. It's a process in there. My life, work-life balance. I pulled that all into one so that being my authentic self, being with my family, being like whatever it is part of things that enhance my business, my life, all of that. My sense of family and community are there, my paired vision, right? So the squat. People, if I tell people, I want you to put everything into perfecting your technique. It's got to be perfect. Every day I want it to be a little bit better, a little more refined. We're chasing the impossible to take out the minutia of every imperfection in your squat. And people go, oh, I'll do body weight, maybe the bar, and I got to get it perfect. This relates back to development of resilience here in a minute. And then I say, I want you to put today, we're going to do something different. I want you to put every last ounce of effort into that squat. Absolutely nothing on the table. I want to know what's in your soul, what it's made of. Show me who you are. Forms out the wind. It's going to look like trash. It's just going to be all out. I go, no, actually, sorry, I didn't mean today. I meant like, yeah, I still want you to be perfect. I want both of those. I want both of those. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because unless I have challenge to break me down and I'm pushing the level of what I can and can't do, I don't discover the flaws in my technique. I can't make the improvements until I'm on the edge of breaking, right? And I can't push the maximal effort into it if I've got leaks. If I've got any little level of energy leak or loss of, like, think of business and personal life and other, like, loss of focus in other areas, distractions, things that pull from that, right? Everything. And so as I chase these things that are diametrically opposed, I create something beautiful in the center that is outside the scope of what people thought was possible. And that's what I did. Right? That's how I pulled that off. So it wasn't going into the gym like, I'm going to be a meathead and just like beat my head against the wall. I spent decades understanding and becoming the best expert on rehabilitation and neurology and biomechanics. And I designed my own equipment. I created my own gym and culture. I built my entire team around me to do analysis and laser my hip and shoulder position every week and guide there was a whole team around this to be able to pull that off, because at the same time, I deadlifted 1,001 pounds for 3 repetitions. At the time, only a half a dozen people had ever done a single. Nobody had done it for reps. And every one of them weighed between 340 pounds to 460 pounds. And I weighed 262 pounds. And then 5 years later, I came back and I squatted 1,001 pounds for 3 repetitions. Some other people had done some squats for repetitions as well. And there was about a half a dozen people in the world that have squatted over 1,000 pounds. None of them are close to being able to deadlift it. And nearly every one of those that had weighed between 340 plus pounds. Again, I weighed 275 pounds at the time of that one. So there's some perspective on a lot of stuff I just hit on so many levels that connect the dots of the pieces of the conversation that we've had so far.
Yeah. Fantastic way to do that.
Yeah,
way to wrap that up.
It'd be nice to do this down the road again for a little bit longer. We barely scratched the surface, but where can people track down your stuff? Yeah.
ChrisDuffin.com. That's like a muffin, but with a D. Duffin.
Keep those. That should be one of the 5 S's, but
fix your autocorrect. But if you go to ChrisDuffin.com, you'll actually see the trailer for the upcoming movie. You'll get the first part of my book if you sign up for the email list for absolutely free. You can get a link for the audiobook, which is it's a great resource to go through there. Links to social media. If you sign up for the email list, like I said, you'll get first part of my book for free. You'll also get some exclusive education and exclusive discounts to my company's Kabuki Strength, which makes the absolute best and biomechanically sound equipment out there. We're used in 90% of all professional sports teams in North America. That's the NBA, NFL, MLB, all areas of the military and special forces. Heck, even the person in the Oval Office is using ours to try to get to a little healthier, and we'll see if we can have an impact there.
Nice.
All the, your top movie stars, The Rock, he's got like bars in everywhere he trains, Marvel Studios, basically anybody that knows anything about proper training, uses kabukistrength.com.
Wow, nice.
So lots of free education on movement and stuff like that. So again, maybe you don't train right now, but if you want to be successful in business, your personal life and family, you need to have a physical component. It's body, mind, and soul. Do you need to do what I did? No.
Right on.
With that is also barefoot athletics.
I wanted to ask you about
number one being.
Yeah, I just want to ask you about that before we go. Just make sure you plug that barefoot stuff, and I want to ask you about it.
Number one, as I said, is the spinal mechanics. Number two is the foot and ankle complex. And I mentioned like wrapping your elbow up. You know, what's going to happen if your elbow is bothering and you wrap it up every day? Well, it's going to get weaker. And then actually you're going to cause problems elsewhere in your body as well. And so somehow we think that shoes with orthotics and all this other stuff is like the answer. I've got some big you can watch some videos around the concepts around shoespiracy and the things. I'm not some wacko conspiracy theorist. This is basic, and it's backed by science. Meta-analysis of all studies on the use of orthotics and the concepts that we think around shoes back this up. There's no lasting effect other than temporary relief, just like if you wrapped your elbow every day for a 6-8 week period of time. Then after that, what happens? Well, we know. So barefoot shoes is the absolute best in minimalist shoe wear that allows your foot to actually work and become stronger. And we provide education on how to do that. You just use it. If you don't want to buy my shoes, that's fine.
Yeah, it's good. So
and use them.
Yeah,
strengthen it. Get them stronger.
Go barefoot if you can, or go barefoot if you can. If you go barefoot if you can, like, do your shoes also ground? Like, can you ground to the earth with those shoes? Is there or is it?
So first, my squat and deadlift, I did absolutely just barefoot in my training for that. So I'm not trying to push that, but same time, shoes protect you from cuts and abrasions and heat burning on pavement, as well as disease and things like that. So there is a place for them. We don't have the grounding ones in there. If you want, it is a useful thing to do. So, you know, get out in the grass or wherever, spend a little time connected. But barefoot shoes are the absolute best in minimalist footwear, widest toe box in the industry, greatest shear gripping force, and they're designed with designed function first with a touch of fashion. So my design collaborator is arguably the best men's luxury shoe designer in the world, who happens to also design for the same customers that Kabuki Strength, like, you know, LeBron, The Rock, so on. Random tie-ins, but and then supplementation, build fast formula. Anyway, long story short, you want to find me? I'm easy. Go on social media, type my name in. I usually have a little blue checky thing. Instagram, LinkedIn are the two primary places I interact, but the postings are usually all over. And again, all that's on chrisduffin.com.
Right on, Chris. Thanks for coming on the show, and have a good time at the zoo.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. It was fun.
You.
Great chat.
All right. You guys have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. And that was a chat with Chris Duffin. What'd you think, buddy?
Oh, I felt bad. I interrupted him a couple times there. Just really trying to get. I wanted to get the barefoot thing, and I wasn't sure he was going to say it, but he said it. I want to buy some of those shoes. They look pretty cool.
I was sure he was going to say it.
I know. I'm just stupid.
You just felt bad for not bringing it up. It's okay. Are you going to get into lifting?
Fast,
I think you'd be a great lifter.
No,
you're short. You don't have far to lift it. You seem like squatty.
I was arguing with Brady. I said I did on the leg press. I did 1,100 pounds before, and he's like, "No, there's no way you could have done that. No way, no way."
Oh yeah, I remember in high school doing like 550.
Oh really?
When I was in like high school, so I could see you doing like 1,200, no problem.
You're locked right in there. It's all just legs.
I could see it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because we were listening to his book a little bit on the way home from Utah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was good chat. I mean, honestly, dude, he's a real well-rounded guy. Super smart, super fit, like very, very good engineer and inventor, and just good at articulating like inspiration. I found.
There you have it. Big thanks to Chris for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you're one of our supporters. GrabAmerica.ca/support. Join up today. We'll be forever grateful. contact at thecabin.com if you want to get in on some of our tours.
Graham's authentic self does need donations.
Graham's authentic self needs support in more ways than one. Adultbrain.ca for the audiobooks. Join the chats. Grimerica.ca/chats. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Started writing down a list of things to do. Number 1 on the list of things to do was to write a list of things to do. Number 2 on the list, a little more nihilist, wrote down the cake is a lie. There is no spoon. Johnny flipped out, they put him in a rubber room. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Started to carve my initials into a 150-foot tree. Forgot who I was, where I was, cut my hand and it began to bleed. Was only looking to leave my mark in the bark in the park, now I'm in agony. I have no name, my legacy is written in the sparks in your brain. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Johnny crumpled up, threw away his list of things to do. Instead he got to jotting down his lifeblood legacy manifesto. Live by principles of peace, mix it with charity. Don't leave the next generation a world of scarcity. Johnny wasn't a commie, he was my fellow man. Johnny wasn't a commie, he was my fellow man. Johnny wasn't a Nazi, he was a firebrand. Johnny wasn't a Nazi, he was a firebrand. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling. Hide all your money under your mattress. You call your enemy a fascist. Somebody call an ambulance, the sky is falling.